Good afternoon and blessed Sabbath once again to all of you. We are going to go through this lesson, which has been motivated by many things, one of them being our Sabbath school lesson for this quarter. And so, because we're recording, so we'll try to be as formal as we can. At some point, we will need to take a break because the Pathfinder leaders want to do something. They want to form groups for Bible study. So we'll give them a moment. So without wasting much time, we're going to deal with this issue. There are many things we can talk about money in the church. Many. We can spend the whole day. We can spend a whole week discussing money. But I decided that we just focus on a couple of things, the ones which are usually quite controversial. Number one, how is money used in the Adventist church? It dawned on me that not everybody knows what happens when they give their dollar or their rand or their offering. What happens with that money? That's an important question we need to answer. We need to demystify some myths which are around there. There's a perception that money goes to America. We get more money from America, actually. America gives us money. There's no money coming from Africa going to America. I'll show you the numbers. We actually get money from America. Because how the church works, we cross-subsidize each other as a world church. So I will talk about that. I'll also hint at some point around tithe. There's a discussion going on around the world around tithe. Is tithe New Testament? Isn't tithe in the Old Testament? We have no Levites, we have no priests, we have no sanctuary. So I won't have time to go through the theology of tithe, but I think there are a few things we will say. I hope my clicker will work so I don't have to. Goodness me. The clicker, Lunga, it worked, okay. Lunga, just sit there, move. I think you are just behind the clicker. Anyway, our church has 22 million. Numbers, it's rough numbers. Actually, we don't know how many Adventists are there in the world, by the way. We don't know. The reason is very simple. Our record keeping is very bad as a church. If you come from some rural place, think of a rural church. You think that church keeps records properly of members? The church clerk writes in a book somewhere, and then the book gets lost. And then they can't remember who is who. Some of you here have membership in more than one church. Some of you don't have membership, but you're baptized members. Because your names were never moved. We know, sir, don't look at me, I know you. So 20 million is sort of the estimate. I mean, there. We sit in about 220 countries. Across the world, there are about 52,000 Adventist churches. That's globally. We have about 700 medical institutions. That is hospitals and clinics. We have about 2,000 schools and high schools and universities, 80 publishing houses. We have 13 divisions. The world is broken into 13 segments, the global world, the global church. 13 divisions. We have 160 union conferences and about 740 conferences, law conferences. So we'll talk about that in detail. So that's the world church, the world map for you. So all those colors, each color is a different division. So the church is split into 13 segments, 13 divisions, and those are the colors. So there is no square meter on earth which the Adventist church does not claim to be part of its world church. Whether we have a church or not, it doesn't matter. The way Adventism works is that the way the church works, Pastor JJ is not a pastor of 4 churches or 5. He's not a pastor of, when we say church, he's not a pastor of this campus here, and then the one in Orange Grove, and the one in Clover Park. He's the pastor of the territory. Adventism, the way it works, Pastor JJ is the pastor of everyone. Everyone in Edenvale, Orange Grove, Clover Park, even non-Adventists. He is their pastor. That is why if there's a funeral, they can call him to preach there. So anyway, so there's no, that's just a the clicker is taking, okay. So our division, Southern African and Ocean Division, that is our area now. We're going to just stay there. those countries, you know the map, you guys go to school, all of us. That's our area. That is our one of the 13 divisions. And our offices are in Pretoria, Centurion, Irene. So those are the countries which belong to our division. And then our division is split again into what's called union conferences. So our division, let me go back to that, to the first one. So that division is made up of, I think we have 20, I need to figure out my numbers, can't remember. About 20 union conferences, unions and union missions. For example, Zimbabwe is 3, Zambia is 2, that's 5 already. South Africa is 1, we're going to split into 4 by the end of 2025. There's plan to split into 4. And Botswana is 1, Angola I think is 1, then you have those islands and all that. So we have about 20 union conferences. So the world division also splits into union conferences. Yep. Okay, so that's our union conference. That's our union conference in that red area. That is Lesotho, Swaziland, South Africa, Namibia. And those 2 islands there, St. Helena Island and Tristan da Cunha. Tristan da Cunha, I was laughing, I was asking, it takes, I don't know how many weeks by boat to get there. It's part of our union. And our union is split into 8 conferences. So those are our conferences. Trans-Orange Conference, Northern Conference, Lesotho Conference, Otini, Namibia North, Namibia South, Cape Conference, KZN, and Free State. And those islands, somehow they float as part of the union. Leon. Okay. Our conference is, we are in the Northern Conference. Now I'm drilling down to local church, by the way. We're in the Northern Conference, and that is our territory as the Northern Conference, which includes the 4 provinces, Northern, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, and Northwest. Yes, those 4. Those form what is called now a local conference. So remember, we have a general conference, 13 divisions. Divisions split into unions, or union conference, local conferences, and ours is Northern Conference South Africa, which has all those. So that's the office. Those who know it. Bedford Gardens, Bedford View. That's our Northern Conference. Our Northern Conference has 22,000 members, 127 churches, 33 companies, about 70 pastors. And Edenville Church is part of that 127. Our pastor JJ is part of those 70. And here we are about, on paper, 290 members. On paper. Some of you are not members. I don't know why. Although you are baptized in your churches or wherever you came from. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Okay, now let's go now to the money part. Now there are 2 types of monies the church collects. 2 basic types. What's called tithes, which is 10% of your increase. Now there's a whole debate around what's an increase. I'm not going to go to gross net, that's another story. That's another discussion. But the teaching of the church that 10% of your income belongs to God. We can debate how to give to God. That's another discussion you can have. But it belongs to God. And so what happens when you collect the tithes, whenever you give a tithe, whenever you give an income, you give tithe. You just have to wait for month end. Those who get paid per month, they do that. Those who harvest maize and mealies and mangoes and oranges, whenever they harvest. Those who get a windfall, some uncle from somewhere gave you money on the 5th or on the 7th of the month, you return tithe. And then the second portion is called free will offerings. Remember, the tithe is 10%. Free will offerings, there's a lot in that, because some of it is said, donations you give, pathfinder money, it's all part of the offerings. That is not defined anyway, how much it is. You give it as the Lord moves, as we feel generous, as we feel blessed. And so that's called the free will offering. You give it however you want. Now, tithes, all of the tithe money, all of it, all of the tithe money we give at any church goes to the conference, local conference. There is no tithe money which stays here. All of it goes. I'll give you the numbers later. All of that money which we give here goes to the conference. All of it. So whatever tithe money. So when you give tithe, when you return tithe, give tithe. When you return tithe, don't say I'm supporting the church. That money we don't see it. Whatever tithe you return, we are just the collecting point, and we pass it on. So don't say So when the local church says, look, we need to buy whatever, piano, want to upgrade our PA system, want to do this, and please give. And he said, no, but I return tithe. It's good, you did it, but we never see it here. It's not our money. We don't touch it. Free offerings, there's a policy, there's an agreement in the church. The church is a structure, it's an organization. Some things we agree as members, as a church, how we do things. Not everything is in the Bible, by the way. I need to say that up front. Not everything is in the Bible. To say 10%, 50% of the offering stays here. There's nothing in the Bible. But there is a biblical principle which the church understands. That when an organization, a church of God, sits and decides on something, for order's sake, we are then bound by it. The ANC says the same thing. We're now bound by it. So be careful about saying it's not in the Bible, because God has a church which has a mission, which is a plan. For example, the church says I will go for the next 5 years. That's the plan. There's no Bible verse that says must do, I will go for 5 years. But when the church has done it and organized it, now you can't be campaigning against it. No, I will go is a useless thing. You can't go around toying now against it, because you are now violating church order. So you can argue, is church order God order? I think there is a place where those two are the same. We can debate when that is. So free offerings is, okay. Now, so offerings, we give them in different ways. The preferred way is put in the envelope, because you can tell what you want it for. Of course, there's an envelope, there's kids' envelope, there's adult envelope. These ones are the kids' ones, the adult ones also. So you go into that envelope, you write your name, of course, then you put tithe, 5 rand, free offering. Now, free offering is not just, it's called free will, but you specify what you want it for. If you say local church, it then becomes money for rates, electricity, water, and everything. If you say welfare, because we have a welfare fund here to help the poor, it goes to welfare. If you say I'm giving for AMO or army, it goes to army. If you say I'm going to WM, so you specify what you want the money for. That's the good thing about an envelope, that you can tell, I want to give to children's ministries 10 rands, and that money goes there. If you say local church, which we prefer, because then it gives us freedom to give where the need is. If you say local church, it goes into a pot where we then decide, okay, do we need to pay to fix the gate? You know that our gate is not working. Those who come early know that. The motor is broken. We need to fix that motor. Our fans, we don't like them. People say, put aircons. Yeah, put aircons with what? So that's the good thing about local church, that it gives us freedom to decide where to do. The paving is terrible. Those who have been here for 15 years know that. This paving used to be tarred, by the way. It's now like a gravel road. We have talked about putting new paving nicely outside. Okay. Children's hall, it's hot in summer. Those who have been there when children's service, it's terrible. It's hot. And yeah, anyway, that's another discussion. Then there's about the adult envelope. Same thing. You put your name, you put what you want the money for. If you put money in the plate, cash, like what many people do, that money, that's not a policy issue. It's not in the Bible, by the way. There's nothing in the Bible that says that. We are bound by the church organizational plan. And we have all agreed as a church, this is how we do it. Because we don't know what to put the money for. We don't know. You just put money in the envelope, in the plate. We don't know, because you didn't put the envelope and wrote what it is for. We can't tell what it is for. You might have really given it thinking you want to support some mission project in Limpopo or in wherever. Because we can't ask you, what is it for? So, to be fair, and to sort of satisfy both sides, the policy is we take that cash, hard cash, we cut into two, half of it stays here, half of it goes to the conference for World Church projects. Because we don't know. You might have been here for Sabbath school. Remember, not everyone here is a is an Adventist who understands things. Some of one might be a visitor. Today, I wasn't here when the video was shown. I don't know whether it was shown. So yeah, we watched a video of mission in East Africa. There's a school for the deaf, which I remember was shown 2 Sabbaths ago, or last Sabbath. School for the deaf, and you get touched by that story, and you are told, please give to support. But no one tells you how to give. You just see a plate, come say, okay, maybe it will go to that mission project. So because of all those unknowns, she says, okay, let's be fair. Let's take that money, that cash, split into 2, 50% stays here because it's here, 50% goes to the conference, and the conference will deal with it, what they do. So that's what happens with the cash. So those are the ways you give money. If you give money if you do an EFT in the bank, which some of you do, you must indicate it because you need to give a reference. You put a name, and then you need to say what the money is for. So when you do an EFT, please be clear what you want the money for. Okay, I think I've explained that enough. Leon. Okay. Now move back. Go back. Yeah, go back one slide forward. Sorry, forward. Okay, we spoke about that. There's a formula which has been developed around what happens to money. Okay, let's go to tithe briefly. So how tithe happens, it gets sent to, we said it goes to the conference. Yeah, all of it. Then it gets there. Then there's a formula around what happens to the money at the conference level. Some of it will end up at GC, but most of it comes back. I'll explain why. So it goes to the conference, lower conference, ends up at union, division, general conference, and then there's a way it comes back. I don't know how to do with this. Okay, you can't see this, but that's fine. I'll share these slides at the end on the church group. So I'll send the whole presentation. So there's a formula the church has on what happens to tithe money. Let me just say this because I had a discussion this morning with somebody. There's a discussion which happens between all the levels of the church. Because remember, the only place money is collected is local church. That's the only place church collects money. There is no other place. Unless somebody donates to conference directly or division for a project. That's a difference. But the majority of church money comes from members. Because members are the ones who give. The conferences, and the members belong to churches, by the way. The conference has no members. The conference has churches. Those who know politics know that when you go to the ANC conference, the 5-year one, it's a conference of branches. It's a conference of branches, not a conference of members. Members belong to the branch. So when the ANC meets, I'm using ANC because hopefully people will understand what I'm talking about. When the ANC meets, it's branches which meet. So branches vote. When they say, who is the president of the ANC, it's the branch which votes. The members must have agreed at branch level that when you get there, please vote for Cyril or for whoever. Same thing with the church works. The members belong to a local church. Conference has no membership. It has got churches. So it's a conference of churches, not of members. Members belong here. So that is why when we send the money to the conference, we send it as a church, not as Lunga gave. Just say, tithe from Edenville, this is the amount. And then, so in our union, Southern Africa Union Conference, each conference, local conference by the way, sends 31% of its tithe to the union. 31%. 69 stays at local conference. Because conference pays pastors, it supports the schools, Peterson Park, St. Haven, it subsidizes teacher salaries at schools, it pays for camp meetings, it pays for evangelism in the conference territory, it pays for needs. If for example, we did a campaign last year at QS. We applied for funding from the conference to support that. The conference then gives funding as you request. They say, okay, I want to do a campaign in QS, please give us $30,000. The conference does the application and says, okay, we'll give you. So conference stays with 69% of the tithe money because the biggest expenses of church, the frontline work of the church, the evangelism of the church happens at local church level, conference level. The union doesn't have churches, by the way. The union has only conferences. So be careful. So when we say money goes to the top, most of the money stays in our conference because that is where pastors get paid. They don't get paid at union level. Anyway, so 61%, 31% goes to the union. Now the union has 8 conferences. So it's a union of local conferences. I spoke about the unions. So if each one gives 31%, it goes to the union. The union pays for things like, supports things like Helderberg College, because that's a union institution, VOP, Maluti Hospital, and a couple of other things. President Wilson is coming on the 13th. His budget is scheduled by the union. He's a guest of the union, not our guest. So the union is going to hire Nazarek. By the way, 18 February, Nazarek, he will be Nazarek. Our union is paying for the venue at Nazarek. It's not us, because he's a guest of the union. So the union has that budget. So they take that 1%. And they cover their own things. They cover things, look, they have to travel to Namibia, Lesotho, Swaziland, and do all that stuff, and run the union office. So, and then 7% of the 31. So the union takes 31%, and 7% of that 31 goes to division. The division does, remember I said conference is a conference of churches. Union conference is a union of local conferences. It has 8 conferences on. The membership of the union is 8 on local conferences. Only 8. Those are the members. So when you go to a session of the union, we go as conferences. The division has, say, 20 unions. So each union in the division gives 7% to the division, which covers that whole area from Zambia, Malawi, all that. And then the division gives 1% to the GC. 1% goes to the GC. So of the 31% which goes to union, 8 disappears. Because 7 goes to division, 1 goes to the GC. So of the 100% we get as tithe here, we only give 31%, which gets split as we go up. Move to the, okay, sorry. I'm not going, this slide is terrible. You can't see it. Sorry, the slides are terrible. You can't see. But I want to read a few numbers. So the conferences in the SAU, for example, in our union, they gave in 2020, all the 8 conferences which are written there, they gave 345 million rands. That's the money which left churches to local conference to end up at union level. 345 million. I'll tell you how much our conference makes, our local conference later. So they did a trend, they showed a trend from 2015 to 2020, how much, 344 in 2020 was low because of COVID. If you think about it, 7 years ago, 2015, it was 349. So the money, the numbers went down. The year before it was 371. So it plays around 340, 370 there. Offerings, yeah, that's what, so I'm not going to go through the offerings. But there's also an offering thing which happens. Remember the cash which gets split here. We said the cash gets split here. It goes to conference. The conference also passes some of it to the union, by the way. Because tithe can only be used for other things and not for everything else. Okay. Okay. Now that's an interesting slide. Just to give you an idea, I need to check my time. In about 10 minutes, I'll take a break so that the World Church in 1863. Those who know Adventism used to know that. Church was started in 1863. In 1863, the Global Adventist Church had only 125 churches. It was smaller than our Northern Conference in terms of church size, number of churches. We are 170 churches. I think 170 here. In 1860, but most of it was America anyway. Remember, they hadn't moved out into mission. It was mostly American. There were 125 churches in the World Church. What was called World Church then? And tithe was $8,000 for the year. So if you multiply that by 20, it's for easy, 160,000 rands or less. But it was only a small World Church. In 2021, how did I go to? In 2021, I gave a number of 52,000. I don't know why there's a difference. Anyway, there are about 90,000 churches globally. And our tithe is about $2.7 billion, World Church. $2.7 billion, World Church. 1 billion local offerings. So if they add all the offerings you give in all churches, it's about 1 billion. And 81 million for mission offerings. That was 2021. Move the next slide, please. Yeah, that money gets used. Okay, I'm not going to go through that. So there's a whole report around finance, how it works. Of the income the church has, the church makes, only 30% is tithe. 30% is tithe. Some of it is offerings, gifts, investment, and all that. Move to the next slide, please. Just a comment, I'm not going to go through that. Just a comment. The COVID had an impact on income. The church struggled with income because of COVID. We lost income, all of us, many of us, and so our tithe returns and offerings came less. It was felt at church level. Next one. Okay, go next one. I don't want to go through. Okay, this is an interesting slide if you can read. It's a pity, our screens are too small. Of the 13 divisions, I did I worked out giving patterns per division. It was interesting. So there's also statistics around how many members are in each division, how much tithe they gave for the year, and if you divide that by members, you can say on average each member gave this much. East Central Africa division, $13 per member. That's per year, for the whole year. Euro-Asia, $270 per member for the whole year. Inter-America, $75. Inter-European, which includes your Germany, France, $840 per member per year. North America division, $955 per member per year. North Pacific, next slide, I want to see our SID. South America, $175, SID, $17. So now that's an interesting number. There are many reasons why that's a problem. You can explain that in many ways. Number one, poverty levels. You can say how people don't have money. Americans give $955 in average per person per year. We give $17 per person per year on average. There are many reasons. You can say, look, Americans have more income, Europeans have more income, we don't have money. So Trans-European, $820. That's the British and whoever. So, move on. I find this quite interesting. That on average, that was tithe, by the way, we're going to leave offerings out. About 35% of church members return a faithful tithe, a regular tithe. And I don't think that's an issue of not having. I don't think it's a question of not having. Remember that 35% is not about how much you give. It's about just giving. It's about it. So if 30%, say 45% to be generous, return a faithful regular tithe. Faithful is tricky because you don't know what is faithful. Let's say regular. Where are the other 55%? It can't be we don't have. Remember, we don't have, yes. But 10% is God's anyway. So it can't be. Remember, tithe you don't give because you have. Tithe you give because you receive something. Yeah. So we cannot argue that I'm poor, I can't, or I earn less, I earn little. That argument doesn't work with it. It works maybe with offerings. You can argue. What you call the widow's mite, the widow who gave 2 pieces of coin, while the Pharisees gave a lot. That's a debate you can have around offerings. Around tithe, if only 45% give return tithe, what's happening with the other 55? So maybe our average in SID is low because only few people are giving. So think about this. If we have 290 people in this church, 290 people, and only one person gives tithe of 290 rands, the average will be what? 1 rand per person. So when the numbers get added, we say Edenvale average tithe is 1 rand per person because only one person gave. It won't come out. They won't say only one. The average is worked out based on membership. So if our division is 4 million and only 1 million give return a tithe, that means the average will be low. So that's an issue. And by the way, as I said earlier, every division sends a percent to the GC headquarters, and our SID gives 1%. Lunga, I'll give you a moment shortly. Move. I need to figure out where to stop. Move, leave that. Next one. No, go back. There's something, after the next one, I will stop and Lunga can then do the thing you do, then it will take off, we'll go back. While Lunga is doing the thing, please think about questions so that we can then discuss when I'm done. This is an important information I need to say because it kills a narrative which has been propagated by some people that our money goes to America. Nothing like that. The world church works in a what's called the appropriations. So how it works is we say the weak are supported by the stronger. Let me give you an example. Santon Church, which most of you know, its tithe per year. Tithe per year is 20 million rands. 20 million. Edenvale is about 2 million. So Santon Church supports a lot of churches in the conference. Because if that 20 million was child at Santon, some pastors won't be employed. So that's the church project globally. So the church takes the money, puts in a pot, and says, okay, we have an area to cover here. What are the needs? So what would happen if each church keeps its own money? Santon will hire 10 pastors, top of the range cars for them, build a mega church, then we have a Rema style. And that principle works all the way, even at division level. So you have 13 divisions. Our division makes, I think the numbers, I have them somewhere, 75 million a year in tithe. Dollars, by the way, not rands. Multiply that by 20. Or by 17, 18. $75 million per year is SID. 75 million only. NAD makes 2 billion. North America has $2 billion. So what the church does, it takes all that money, in whatever form, puts in a pot, and says, where are the needs in the world church? SID is poor, they need money. So go to the next slide, then we'll take a break. So they sit down and do appropriations. And say, okay, so they work out who needs what are the needs. And it turned out that in 2021, our division received $6 million from the GC. That's a lot of money. That's quite a little bit of money. It's about 120 million rands. You can do a lot with that money. So they got money, which is equivalent to 6 years of Edenvale tithe. So that went to the division. And because of the formula they use, remember there's a formula. They give you back, but you must give your 1% first. You can't say, no, I don't have. Everyone must contribute their 1%, then they look at the pot, and then they split. So in 2021, we gave, SID sent its 1% to the GC. It was 750,000. Our 1% was 750,000. Our 1%, 754,000, and received 6 million back because of the appropriation. So we get more money than we give to America. So that story is not true. There's no money that goes to America from Africa. We get more money. Okay. I'm going to take a break here, and then after that, after you, we'll then finish off the slide, and then we'll discuss whatever questions there are. So just finish this quickly. Okay, any questions so far before I sit up? Any questions to the money story we've spoken about? Any? Yes.
Yeah, the burning issue.
What burning issue now?
So, remember last, was it 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Wanted to buy that church.
Yes.
And
We're told there's no money.
yes.
Where does the money go to?
Yeah, we're told there's no money.
And where does the money go to?
And yet, when we buy a church, for example, right?
It belongs to Setcom.
There's
The rationale. What happens when
That's what we don't understand. That we're seeing all this big number, right?
but we
then
don't.
when you request money, you're told there's no money. You guys need to go and figure it out.
When I was in primary school, I saw my father's payslip. Father was a teacher, government school. So I don't know why. That's why kids never go into their parents' bedrooms. So I didn't know what I was looking for. And I pulled some drawer. I saw a payslip. Oh, father has money. There's no money, Michigan. I'll explain to you why there is no money. There's no money because of a number of reasons. Number one, tithe money does not buy churches. Tithe money has specific uses for it. We'll talk about it. Maybe. Tithe money is used for specific things. Remember, tithe, we have a theology about tithe, which comes from the Old Testament, which you can debate. And there is a way, tithe money cannot buy buildings. It's not used for buying buildings. We might sit with 400 million rands in the conference on tithe. It can never be used to buy churches, buildings. Church buildings are bought on free will offering. We use the example of the sanctuary in the wilderness when Moses called for money and people gave. So the number you should worry about is offering money. That number should concern you. And if you look at the numbers of offering, the amount of offering churches we give, let's move on. I'll show you the offering money. Just move my slides for me. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm saying all the time that was the conference kind, they started just using for salaries for priests and pastors.
They use it for operation. There is a policy around what to do. There is a whole story around tithe. The tithe money is used for certain operational issues. For example, if a pastor wants to drive so when a pastor gets hired, his salary, his housing, his medical aid, his pension, his mileage claim, all come from pastor. All that, yeah. Pastors and support staff. For example, secretaries at conference get paid by tithe. The guy who delivers mail, the cleaning lady, everyone gets paid by tithe. Schools are paid from tithe as well, subsidies. Because the thinking is that schools are evangelism. Adventist schools have always been evangelism. Adventist schools are supposed to be evangelistic. So they are part of the mission. There's other things So there's care meetings are funded by tithe because it's evangelism. It's gospel work. But when you buy a building, it's not seen as a gospel work. So our Northern Conference, now let's move on quickly. We really want to move fast. So the conference has 10 regions. The conference is divided. See, there are churches, remember, 170 churches. And then the conference took the churches and said, you're too many as 170 churches. So let's split into regions. It helps for admin. We are in the Northeast Johannesburg region. So don't worry, there are not 10. That was old numbers. In 2021, that Johannesburg region, look at that Johannesburg region. That's where we are in Santon Church. It gave 26 million tithe in a year. And about 17 of that came from one church. The rest of us, 15 churches, we added. One church. So move the next slide. So the conference, I'm not going to go to other numbers. Pretoria is also big in tithe. Pretoria Africans Church. It has many churches which actually give a lot of money. Go back the slide. Gauteng, head of colored churches, GRC, 18 million. We are saved by tithe by Santon there as a region. So move on. I want to see. So our region, our conference tithe income for 2021 was 130 million. So the conference received 130 million from 170 churches in 2021. And 31% of that went to the union. So 31 of 113 is maybe, 35 million went to the union. And 80 million remained with us. So move on. And that 80 million, I'm not going to move again. Yeah, move. Don't worry about those numbers. Move. Those numbers are just. So let's go to Edenville Church. You can't see those numbers. Anyway, last Sabbath we spoke about this during Sabbath school. Our tithe for October last year. I'm going to read the numbers, don't worry about it. I'll just highlight the numbers. October last year, this church gave 213,000 in tithe. All of us, 213,000 rands tithe, 1 month. Remember the year is about 2 million. 1 month was 213,000. And our offering was 107,000. But that 107,000 is misleading because it includes monies which were specific for things. For example, if you pay for a Pathfinder subscription, it's called an offering because it goes through the treasurer. But it's actually your kit Pathfinder. You can't use that money. It's Pathfinder. It just goes to Pathfinders. So the only money which you said you gave to run this church is about 36,000. That's the money you gave to buy electricity and water and lights. The rest you gave because your child is in Pathfinders. If your child was Pathfinder, you're going to give money. So don't count that. We can't use that money anyway because it's specific for give. So the only money you really gave to say, I want to give for mission of Edenville Church to do what we think is important was 36,000. So we gave tithe 200,000. We gave offering 36,000, which is about 1/8, 1/7. So next one. And our expenses, by the way, for October were 63,000. So we actually make a loss. Don't ask me where the difference comes from. There is a pot somewhere of money which some people left many years ago, but that's not the story. So we eat there, which is unfortunate. You can't eat from your reserves. You have to pay for electricity. Next one. November, our tithe was 109,000, about half of October. I don't know what happened. October was bonus. It's possible, yeah. Because it was half in November. And our offering was 23,000. Go move on, one move, and our expense was still 63,000. Next one, December went back to 200,000 income, tithe, and our expenses were 41,000. So next one, I want to move from the money side. Okay, next slide. Okay, yeah. Now this is where we can discuss. You had the numbers. You got a sense of what the numbers look like. It was just to give an idea. If you want the numbers, we'll send this slide present to all of you on the church group. You can look again. We have a sense of the numbers. We have a sense of the World Church numbers. 10 reasons many people don't give. These reasons they just. I thought about them. Some of them I saw somewhere. Number one, we're anxious about our life, and we need every penny we have. That's a fact. That's a fact. Anxiety is a big issue, and it's justified. Now you have school fees to pay, you have rent to pay, you have petrol to pay, you have uniform to buy, you have that. Now you look at the income you have, and you wonder. It doesn't fit you. So, and like every person does, you think of where to cut. Yeah, you cut. You can't cut rent because you'll be kicked out. You can't cut on your car payments because the car will not. You see, I have a credit card, and I hate that thing, but it helps me in my bad days. Sometimes I miss payment. My payment day is 19th of the month. I don't know why they put on the 19th. It's a bad time. It's I can give you the name, it's a Discovery credit card. I got it one year when I said I need a backup in case I have to pay fees and I have no money. So I have that card. So sometimes I forget. I forget deliberately to pay it. And I get a call from the bank. And they're very nice. They say, so I don't know the number, I just say number, pick up. You know what they say, good day. Is that Mr. Alvin Masalia? They can't announce Masalia. And I said, yes, what can I do for you? My name is so-and-so, I'm calling from Discovery Bank. And I said, oh, yo. And that will be the 21st or 22nd of the month, Discovery Bank. I just want to check it, remind you that you haven't paid your monthly debit thing. just to remind you when are you going to pay. So you need to give them a date because they have to write it down. They record what you say. So I say, okay, no, I'll make an EFT transfer today. Oh, you say you're going to do today? Just confirm, please. Yes, today. God doesn't call you. God doesn't call you. And so when we cut the guy who doesn't call. The cousin used to say he owed many people money. My cousin owed you money. He says whoever comes first gets money. If you don't complain, you will be missed. When you run a business, same thing. Whoever claims first gets the money. If you don't come and say, hey, chief. So if the landlord does not come and say, you haven't paid rent, there's no rent paid that month. He'll deal with the issues. He'll deal with the issues next month. So, Leon, move the slides. So, okay, no, don't wait, save it. Sorry, I didn't see that. Okay. So we're anxious about today, and we don't have, we don't think it would be enough. Number two, we're anxious about tomorrow, and so we want to save. We want to save. We're also anxious about tomorrow. Number three, we think we're already poor. I'm already poor. I mean, I can't afford. I mean, where do I give from? I mean, where do I give from? I'm already poor. I was in the youth class today, and we were discussing poverty. What is poor? It's very subjective. Very, very fluid definition of poor. So my mother, we go home in December, and we're there now because she was celebrating 90. So we're all kids there. My son from Namibia, the husband, they came with a big car. So there were 5 big cars at the house. And I says, yeah, my kids are rich. I said to him, Mike, you don't know. This is all quality. This is all poverty. I'm just 1 month away from poverty. These things will be taken away, all these things. So now that tells people in the village, my kids are easy, they're all rich. So poverty is relative. Number 4 is quite sad. We don't believe God will take care of our needs. We really don't. Maybe we do, but we don't show it. Next one. And sometimes we use our brains to subtract and add. We really use our minds. We take a piece of paper and we work out the numbers. You say, and you can see credit and deficit, things are not adding up here. So who do you cut? And the widow of Zarephath was an example. That woman, she really was right. That woman was right. We can say she really was right. So the prophet comes and says, look, make me a piece of bread. And he says, chief, I've only little, and I'm going to bake for me and my son, and we will die. And you come and say you want to eat. I mean, she was right. She wasn't lying. It's not like she was lying from plenty. She had nothing. So sometimes we do that. Says God, you know what? No, it doesn't add up. And number 6, we think it's our money anyway, so we can do what we want to do. Number 7 is quite interesting. We don't know what the money is used for. That's a big one. Sometimes people don't give. They say, look, where does the money go to? It goes to America, it goes to the conference. We don't know where it is. Just gets. Next one. Maybe we have so much debt. The story is today. We have so much debt that we really can't pay, can't return. Number 10, maybe we don't think that the church is ours. It's also another reason why I've heard. People don't really feel like they own the church, that the church is theirs. So, you know what you own, you support. Yeah, sometimes you think like we're just, when we left Cape Town, we left a house there. And thank God we never sold it. There were many times we were tempted to sell it because we needed money. But my wife says, no, please don't, just keep it. Just keep it. So we have tenants who live there. So the doorbell breaks, and they call, and they say, hey, the bill is broken. Chief, just fix the bill, man. But the house is not his bill. It's not his. He's not going to fix the bill. So he calls the agent. The agent says, hey, the doorbell is broken. And they say, how can they just fix the doorbell? He says, no, they can't. They don't want to fix. So the agent has to pay, fix the doorbell, then deduct from the rent. So if you don't own the place, you don't fix. And the last one, we like nice things. So we can't afford nice things. at the same time and other things for God. We really can't. So we like nice things, and we think, if I have to. I have a DSTV at my house, and I don't know why. I have it because of soccer, by the way. Please pray for me. And the only reason I have that DSTV account is just this. That's only soccer. I don't watch anything. I don't know how I can get DSTV for soccer, which is cheaper. There's nothing. They hit you with the big one. So now I have thought before, if I were to take that DSTV and close it down, that will be a bit of $100, $800 every month, which I can just. So my son comes and says he wants to join the gym. So I pay for his gym subscription. Just run around the building, man. Where do I want to go? Just run, man. Why do you want a gym? You have to pay $200 every month for a gym. You can just run in the neighborhood. You'll be fine. But you want a gym? Now I have to pay for a gym now. So we like nice things. When the gym, you go with a towel, with that bottle of water, with earphones, with techies, and you get there for 30 minutes and you go. Say, Chief, you go for 30 minutes, come back and you're paying so much money and you just go for 30 minutes. Yeah. So sometimes we like nice things, and so they take money away. Next one. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. That's all you can read for yourself, why there is a biblical foundation for tithe and offerings. God is the creator. We've spoken about this. And so on. Move, next one. I want to go to recognition that God owns. We've spoken about this. Move again. I think we want to have a discussion. Next one. You will see it when they send the slide. Next one. The Adventist Church teaches, I think, systematic giving. We give planned giving. We don't just wake up. One thing deacons, have you noticed that when deacons collect offering, those deacons know it. You get there, you pass the plate, and then we start. I understand if kids do that. But when adults start, I wonder, did they plan to come and give? They don't. So we need to plan to give. We discover if you plan to give, you actually give better. Because you can work out the numbers. There was a wedding, my sister's daughter, was it that? I think so. So we had planned to give a present. It was cash. And then we gave. Then the spirit moved. You get excited, you're the uncle. Excited. The uncle. I cooked myself afterwards. What was I doing? I had no petrol money to go home. What did I do? You got excited, you get emotional. Now it hits you. One thing I like funerals. It's a sad example, but that's it. When my father died, it was fine. When you buried him, I really cried at the graveside. So what you like? So there's a you plan to give. I said, we're going to give this sister's child 1,000 rands. That's the present. That's it. Then you get there, the uncles are all showing off. We're in Namibia. And the problem is Namibia, cars in South Africa work in Namibia. So we're at a hotel. I went to the ATM. And I withdrew. Namibian cards work, South African cards, South Africa, because in Namibia, the currency, you can withdraw money in Namibia, South African card. I wanted to withdraw money, another $2,000. Jeff. I looked, I have no money for petrol to go back to Joburg. I had to borrow my brother money. Father, can I have money for petrol? I had to drive back to Joburg. I'm telling you. So if you don't plan to give, you'll be in trouble. So you must plan to give. So smart giving is practice. More for the next one. It means we then honor God. You don't want to also just give God from the loose change. Loose change. You don't want those who are married know this. You don't want on a wife's birthday say, oh, birthday, okay, what can I afford now? What can you afford now? You see. So next one. Move. Leave. I will read that later. I want to go to the. Okay. I'm going to close with this, and then we can have a discussion. We really need to have a discussion because our time. I think the kids are getting a bit anxious. Now, So Anyanke, this is where we are now. We tried this conversation a few weeks ago. Let's try. Let's see how it goes. Let's go to tithe. And then we can have a conversation about tithe. In the Jewish economy, there were 3 tithes. There were 3 types of tithe. You can read the verses. There was what was called the Levitical tithe, the tithe of the Levites. That was given to the Levites in the community. It was collected at the sanctuary, synagogue, temple. The purpose of that money was to support the Levites. And the Levites controlled how it's spent. So your task was to bring the Levite tithes to the sanctuary and walk away. The Levites decided what that happens to that money. That wasn't money. It was products. They didn't have money. It was farm things. Okay, next one. Then there was what was called the rejoicing tithe. That was tithe which you could eat with yourself, your family, the poor, and anyone else who could not celebrate. Remember, the Jews had 7 festivals, I think 7 festivals, and not everyone could afford to go. Because remember, Jesus got lost. Remember, Jesus got lost on their way back. So they had to go to Jerusalem. John chapter 4, the woman says to Jesus, you Jews say worship happens in Jerusalem. So the Jews' worship was at Jerusalem. The festivals, they would go to festivals. Some couldn't afford to go. So there was something called the rejoicing tithe. That tithe was for eating with your family, your neighbors, the poor, and those who could not afford. So the 7 festivals in Leviticus 23, food, drink. Today we take for granted food. Food is a big issue. It's a big problem for many people. Very big for many people. It's a big problem for many people. So imagine in the economy, remember they will get food from harvest, if they could store. They could maybe have food after harvest. Those who have a real understanding know that. You harvest around maybe March, April, May. If you get to winter, you might have no food. If you haven't harvested enough, you might have no food in winter until next harvest. So food was a big issue. So the purpose of that was to eat, and so you could use it for whatever you want. So the individuals would control the money. So whoever is the family controls not money, the tithe. The next tithe was called the poor tithe. It was used only for charity and mercy projects. So it was to give to the poor. So Deuteronomy 14:29 talks about the strangers and the poor within your gates. So it was specifically just to feed the poor. So there were 3 types of tithe in the Jewish economy. The only one which we have survived, which we have taken into the New Testament, the Levitical one. Levitical one. Because there is a belief, a theology, that God's church is God's church. It needs to move. It has workers. We don't call them Levites. Actually, they're not Levites. It's a bad term to say pastors are Levites. They're not. So the church has to move and just be funded. So that's where the Levitical tithe is made. Now, you can argue. So we can't argue that we're already giving to welfare because there was already a welfare tithe. It was already there. So the Jews were giving 30% of their income to some cause. So we can't argue that I'm already giving to welfare, I'm giving to pathfinders, I'm giving to what. If you give, let me give you an example. If you give 30% of your income to the church in one form or the other, you are doing very well. I don't know how many of us do that, spend 30% for income on some church project. Just try and add 1 month or the whole and say, whether you think what to give to pathfinders, adventurers, AMO, WM, welfare, care meeting, tithes, offerings. Add that and see if it has 30%. If it does, then you're fine. If it doesn't, then you can't complain. So Paul in the New Testament talks about this. And that's one of the verses we use to justify the Levitical tithe. This verse. Paul says, those who miss at the holy things, eat of the holy things of the temple. And those who serve at the altar, partake of the offerings of the altar. That's 1 Corinthians 9. So remember Paul was after the cross. So there was no priest there. There were no priests in the Old Testament, in Paul's time. The priesthood had gone. Jesus had come, the temple had been closed down, there were house churches, and Paul still says, those who minister at the altar, eat from the offerings at the altar. Now, what are the offerings at the altar today? We don't come with sheep and goats and maize. You can, in some places they do. So the only things we give at the altar in our economy is money. Okay, next one, I think we're done.